Upshot, multi-world disc golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. Josh, 58 million people watched the Lions 49ers game this weekend per the Nielsen ratings. It's the largest telecast since last year's Super Bowl. Just the NFL is an absolute beast in the ratings department, and everyone had to tune in to watch the Lions lion it away in the second half.
I'm pretty sure 57.99 million of them had their hearts broken on Sunday.
Man. I got some Lions fan friends, and oh man, first half, so much trash talk on my phone. Buzz, here come the messages. And then it was just all cope in the second half.
They should know better. Like they should know better. If it's let me give you an example. When the Cowboys were playing the Packers, when it was 27-3 or when it was pretty similar scoreline, 24-7 at the end of the first half, I also was talking trash, but I was talking trash about the Cowboys. You had just done the same thing against the Packers, where you had to grind out an ugly win and you got it. Like, I was never going to write off the 49ers against the Lions. The Lions defense and Jared Goff were just two weak points that were always going to make getting to the Super Bowl a difficulty.
Yeah. I mean, I got to give them credit. I thought the Lions obviously they had a great season, and I thought they played very well against us.
Right.
For long stretches of that game, they looked like the better team. But I don't know, man. Brock Purdy, he just finds a way. Like, I've never watched him scramble like that in my life. And, honestly, I think people have been trying to kill the coach for the not taking the three a couple times on the fourth downs. And the one early in the second half, I really thought they should have taken the field goal. But I don't think they trust their kicker. That's part of the whole analytics process the coach seems to go through. And the math says that it was the right thing to do. If you look at the number, it was like 0.2% better chance to win by going for it instead of kicking the field goal. Yeah, is there a disc golf equivalent of that where it's like you should run it or you shouldn't run it, like win probability wise? Like, we're not quite there yet, but
we're not.
There are probably times where players lay up when they shouldn't.
I bet that's absolutely true. You know what the problem is though with that, Charlie, is that players don't know what the scores are until like the last hole maybe. So yeah, that like we probably could be throwing those graphics up on hole 9 and hole 15 of the final round, and players just wouldn't know. So yeah, ridiculous.
Anyway, but my point is, the biggest blame for me has got to go to the receivers who just could not catch the ball in the second half for the Lions. The fumble hurts too, but like, not being able to catch two very catchable. One was a perfect throw. One was very catchable for an NFL wide receiver. You can't catch a football on key downs. What are we doing here? It's not like Goff played amazing, but he didn't play bad.
Right. I mean, it's the Lions' offense had been built in a way all season that were designed to minimize. I mean, they talked about it continuously on the broadcast. To play over the middle of the field, to create routes that were designed to give Jared Goff quick looks, but also to like have a little bit more open space, even if it didn't mean they were throwing very far downfield. I'd be interested to see the statistics on where Goff was in actual air yards before during passing, and so the Lions offense was designed to build around him for success, knowing that Goff does have some limitations, and it worked pretty well. But like you said, drop passes and the fact that you're playing against a team that's just not going to like allow you to have those kind of mistakes. Welcome to championship weekend, baby.
Man, crazy stuff. So it's Chiefs Niners Super Bowl. Josh, you got an early pick?
Give me the Niners.
Okay.
Give me the Niners.
They're laying 2.5 points right now. I don't think we're going to see a 3 at any point. Man, I think a lot of people are going to be on Mahomes. Can they just keep this miracle run going? I mean, they were a mediocre team for most of the season.
Literally, they were one game away. They were at one point. They were not even at the top of the AFC West. Like, that's
My feeling is this. The 49ers have got to play better in the first half in this game, or they will lose. Yeah. They will certainly lose. They basically played one good quarter against the Packers, and somehow that was enough. And then they played a good half against the Lions, and that was enough. But I think against Mahomes and the Chiefs, they're going to have to play a whole game. And the good news is the Chiefs' offense is way worse than the two teams we just played. So we will see what happens. Yeah. Their defense is very good, but I like the Niners' chances, especially if everybody's healthy. So
I think you've got to stop Isaiah Pacheco.
Well, that's what was killing us in this Lions game. I mean, we couldn't stop the run for the whole first half. And they were just gouging us on the ground. They were getting like 10 yards a carry, it felt like. So yes. I agree 100%. We've got to do a better job there. I'm scared though. I mean, Andy Reid with 2 weeks to prepare, he is a very, very good football coach.
It's great football, and I mean Patrick Mahomes with him, right? It really does feel like the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, like final boss. Like you want to get through the AFC, you go through Mahomes and Andy Reid. You want a Super Bowl?
Ravens fans got to be sick, by the way. I mean, Lions fans, but like the Ravens were the best team this season.
This is the second time that Lamar Jackson probably is going to win MVP and is not going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Man, all right. That concludes your NFL podcast. Thank you for tuning in. But anyway, exciting stuff. 2 weeks till the game. And we got a pretty light show today, if I'm being honest. There's not, we're kind of in that tweener where we're between the sponsorship news months and the start of the season, which is only a couple of weeks away. So on Thursday's show, we're going to start to dig into some 2024 stories and look ahead stuff, maybe make some predictions. Today, we're going to talk with Jay Redding of Edge Disc Golf, the educational foundation that does so much great work getting disc golf into schools and teaching teachers and all of this good stuff. And he's got more information about the Boy Scouts adding disc golf as a badge that you can get. I was a Boy Scout, Josh. Were you in the Boy Scouts at all? Okay.
I was. I have an Eagle Scout.
You were an Eagle Scout. Wow.
I am an Eagle Scout. I did the whole thing.
Okay, well, hang on. I didn't know this, so let's take this moment. Tell us what your Eagle Scout project was.
My Eagle Scout project. So my hockey team in high school was a completely volunteer. It was a club team that was a collaboration between the high schools. We used to lay our own ice. The coaches were just parents that were involved. We had no outside funding really. And so my Eagle Scout project, we used to just flood an outdoor roller rink for ice rink. And we ended up building, we got a grant to build an ice rink, an outdoor one. And so my Eagle Scout project was putting in, benches and both for like inside, the team area and then on the outside as well. For the players and in the box and the penalty box and stuff. So that was my Eagle Scout.
That is very awesome. Congrats. That is not a small task to get an Eagle Scout. I bailed. I did Cub Scouts and then I did 1 year of Boy Scouts and I was like, I don't like these people, and I was out. So I have no cool story to tell about that. But I do think it's pretty interesting with the Boy Scouts now having disc golf as a codified badge. And we'll talk to Yeti about what all that means. Before we get to that, there is a little bit of sponsorship news. Josh, give us the first headline here.
Yeah, so first up, we get the Discraft Elite Team video, and copy and paste from last year, really, is what it felt like. Everybody returned. There was no news exciting dropped in there. It was the people that you expected to see. The question marks around like Paige, for example. She was listed in the video. We don't have any sponsorship details on her, but all those people are there. Everyone you expected. There was nothing terribly exciting about that Elite Team video. But Missy does a separate video and announces that she's another 2 years at Discraft. And this one, she does the whole video about her time, her becoming a captain. She's got Yuli in there. And I really was like, oh my gosh, like I think Missy got paid. I think she's got a 5-year deal. This is where she is going to finish her disc golf career. And then she only had another 2 years, which to me, I think is probably Discraft wanting, because if you're Missy, I mean, you've got the Throw Pink win, you've got 2 Pro Tour wins now, you've won Ledgestone again, like, and you did all this in the year of Kristen. I feel like if you're Missy, you would have wanted to get a little bit longer deal just to wrap it up.
It's an interesting question. I hope we have Missy on soon and we can ask her about it because, where do players come down on these wanting certain contracts? I mean, there aren't that many super long FPO contracts, period. I mean, Kristen was on a 4-year before that was like a thing, really. And then obviously Kona got the 4-year. But besides that, I guess Paige was on a long deal. I think she was on a 4. But other than that, there really aren't. We haven't seen a lot of contracts over 2 years. So I don't know what that means exactly. I'm just observing. We're not seeing 10-year deals on the FPO side. Kristen's next contract might be something like that. It's very but I think what I think is most interesting about this is that Missy got a video and basically nobody else did from Discraft. So, I mean, obviously she was their most accomplished individual player last year, right? I mean, I guess you could say Corey Ellis because he won a major. But, like, Missy was, like, at the very top of the division, actually challenging Kristen, was in the hunt at Worlds, won a Pro Tour Championship, like, wins the big Discraft tournament at Ledgestone. So I get it. But I think it's interesting that Paige, for instance, didn't get one. That doesn't mean there's not going to be one coming. But like,
right.
It just, the whole Discraft rollout of the sponsorship this year was very odd to me, I thought.
I thought so
like
too.
if you're going to run your team back, like, let's just tell us right away. Like, tell us January 1st. Why are we waiting until the end of January? It feels weird. It's incongruous, but like, there are no surprises. This is exactly what we all expected, which is that everybody was re-signing or was already under contract. There are only a few players who were actually up for deals this year, but Discraft next season is going to have to be busy because they got a lot of people coming up on end of their 2-year deals.
One other news: Holland signs another 2 years at Discraft. She was the other announcement that she made on her Instagram.
Yeah, she posted that herself.
So yes, that was not a Discraft video. That was her post. So both of them back for another 2 years. Another nice FPO team. Last sponsorship news: move over, Macbeth, and your McLaren, because Kristen Tatar has a Porsche. Kristen posts on Instagram and does a teaser last week and then ends up posting the actual, kind of post this week. She signed an agreement with, it looks like a Porsche. So it's Porsche Estonia. And when she is in Estonia, she gets a Porsche Macan to drive. It's very, when I put it in Google Translate, it says gets to use a Porsche Macan. So I don't think it's hers. I think it's probably, a lease essentially, but I'm not positive about that. It says Porsche times drive times Kristen on the rear wing, symbolizing, they say, the 3 brands: Porsche, the Porsche Drive Rental Service, and Disc Golf, which is represented by the Drive. So anyway, Charlie, what do you think about this?
Well,
this comes with the gambling sponsor as well.
Well, I mean, I got a few thoughts on this. I was thinking about this last night, actually. Kristen has now reached a level of celebrity in Estonia that she is being sponsored by major brands, right? I mean, like this, I know that like it's Porsche Estonia and you can make all the caveats you want. Like maybe she doesn't actually get the car for free, but like, whatever. If you can use a car, it's your car. Like who cares? Right, I mean, I guess you can't resell it, but who cares? They're going to just give you a brand new one anytime the old one is in bad shape.
Sure.
And so she is like a legit, like coming up on A-list celebrity status in Estonia. So I just think that's very interesting because it's not like we're talking about, Macbeth here, right? We're talking about a female athlete reaching ultra stardom in their home country, getting major sponsorship, and like is arguably among the most famous disc golfers in the United States. So I just think it's pretty cool to see, and I'd like to just kind of step back and reflect, we're not so long removed from a period of time when female disc golfers, even who are multiple world champ level players, like best in the sport, top of the game, were getting peanuts from their sponsorship deal and were considered like a liability for sales. And that I'm talking about Val Jenkins. I'm talking about like players who were absolute elites of the game and are already Hall of Famers, and they were seen as it was like, sure, like we'll give you this little tiny deal and like, be happy with what we're giving you, because if we put your name on a disc, no one's going to buy it. And you know what? There may have been some truth to that 10, 15 years ago. It is obviously a heavily male-dominated sport. But I just want to note that, like, look at how much things have changed, where we have legit FPO players who have major fans. People buy their disc. Kristen is extremely well paid. She's probably making close to $1 million a year at this point in total compensation. And I just think it's really cool. I think it's really cool. And it shows you how important marketing is and how individual sports can set up female players for it's huge success like we've seen in tennis. And I have to give credit, in at least in a big part, to the Disc Golf Pro Tour for what they've done to elevate FPO game. And think about some of the things that they've done, right? They separated have its own broadcast. They've committed the same resources to FPO as MPO. And so that all has led up to this point. Obviously, Kristen's amazing abilities are the real driver here. It's not like other people are like propping her up or something. She deserves the success that she's had, but it's 10 years ago, this wouldn't have happened.
I mean, it's going to be just such a contrast to some of the other sponsors that other players wear when Kristen rolls up in her custom apparel, right? That she has said gets made by a company for her. You cannot buy her custom apparel. And she's got Porsche written on the back of it. Like, she's made it. She's made it.
No, she's definitely made it.
What more would she? I mean, that is it. She's at the top of her sport.
She's on magazine covers in Estonia. Like,
right.
She's popping off right now.
She's made it. So congratulations to Kristen. Very, very cool story. And gets to drive a Porsche around. So,
all right. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, Jay Yeti Redding joins us right here on the Upshot. Stay with us. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. And they've got all kinds of new products coming your way all the time. There's brand new Octo Rainfly colors in turquoise, orange, black, charcoal, hot pink, red, and electric blue. I just got a Rainfly for my Rufus. I went with black, keeping it, New York. But also tomorrow, keep an eye on the Pound socials because they've got a new Rufus double convertible color coming out. I love my Rufus. Highly recommend any Pound bag. Check out all the options at pounddiscgolf.com. Get the right size for you and get a bag for life. Welcome back to the Upshot, as we are joined now by former Upshot guest host for a few weeks and one of the founders of the educational disc golf experience, Jay Yeti Redding. Yeti, what's up, man?
How you guys doing, man? Having a great day today.
We are doing fantastic. How are you? Looks like a sunny, nice day there in Texas.
Man, we're supposed to get up to 75, and in the winter, these are the postcard days. But we also did have a little bit of a hard freeze last week, and some of our plans took a hit. But that's kind of the state of the era. But going to be gorgeous today.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you on. It's been a while. And I just want to start with right off the top with the news, and that is that the Boy Scouts have added disc golf as one of the possible badges that you can earn. So how I heard about this news actually like last week, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then you texted me and you're like, hey, like we helped this happen. And I thought, wow, that's awesome. So we got to get the story. How did this come to pass?
Yeah, it's actually it's a fantastic story, really. And I'm still catching up on a lot of the different things that are going on. I'm a Cub Scout. I'm not a Boy Scout, But I grew
Me
up
too.
through the scouting era. In fact, I forgot my Pinewood Derby card sitting right over there on the shelf, but that's a third place, troop runner right there.
None of mine got saved. They had no accolades.
Sense of pride for a kid, but yep. So I know enough about the Scouts. We've worked with them a bunch, with Jay and Des operation, doing some things early on. Edge has been involved a bunch of times, but really this is like such a monumental step for, I think, the game and the sport. Back in many troop leaders have done some variation of disc golf over the years within Scouts. In fact, we're estimating there's about 50 Scout camps that actually have courses. So those just didn't pop up overnight. Some of these are decades old. We've got longtime PDGA members like, Steve West. I remember I visited one of his camps where he installed a disc golf course on the BSA camp. So it's been around. In 2008, the PDGA actually made a very concerted effort within the organization to get disc golf recognized as its own merit badge. And the PDJ put a lot of effort into that. Des and I both wrote letters of recommendation. Brian Graham was the executive director at the time. He himself is an Eagle Scout. And there was a number of other, movers and shakers. And so as a sport, the PDJ really pushed this vehicle. And, we thought we had great momentum. But at the end of the day, scouting, which now is called Scouting BSA, because it's no longer just a Boy Scouts organization. In 2020, the first class of girls and women got their Eagle recognition. So, it just really wasn't our time. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved. It's a humongous worldwide organization. And I think the overall thematic there was that they just weren't interested in recognizing an individual sport, as it would open up the door for a multitude of other individual sports that would want some recognition. And so, that was hard to accept on a lot of levels. Especially when, if you did look at the merit badges back then, there are a number of individual sports, whether it's, kayaking or orienteering or golf. There was a bunch of individuals. But in the end, the conclusion was that disc golf could be accepted if the troop leader was already, a disc golfer per se, and really put the kids through the rigors of what it would take to earn the sports badge. There was an athletics badge and a sports badge. The athletics badge really geared more towards, you got to figure the Boy Scouts have been around, the Scouts have been around since 1910. So the athletic side is more track and field, calisthenic oriented. Sports, it was more like kind of the old schools, baseball was recognized. Softball, stuff like that, archery. So, yep, it was a little bit of a stretch, but I think, some people went that way and we all kind of pulled back. And then really the big story here starts with longtime PDJ member Steve Rose. He's number 6517, and he's been involved in Scouts for, his entire adult life. And one of the things that he was involved in was golf. In fact, he made it to the point where he was actually a consul for the merit badge for golf. And what the adults do as troop leaders, they get together at, big conferences and things. And they actually go through the training themselves as almost like being adult scouts. And, this council, Steve would lead folks through the golf merit badge so they in turn could go back and perpetuate that. Well, they also challenge these guys at these workshops to do what they call a wood ticket. And the wood ticket is kind of like, what badges do you think need some kind of update? Are there any new badges or thinking outside the box? What should we think about? Well, of course, he's like, hey, golf, disc golf. Do you know how similar that they are? And he made an amazing presentation that caught the attention of David Ehrlich, who is a volunteer chair. He's the Scouts Merit Badge committee member that really was like, you know what, you're on to something, Steve, here. I think we should really visit this like hardcore. And so, of course, Steve went to work, and he contacted Des and myself, both being, Iowans as well. And, all of a sudden this ball got rolling of like, whoa, we know what you guys do as players. We know what you've been doing, within Iowa as a Hall of Famer, things like that. Edge program, like, tell us more. So, those were the big steps that it took to kind of, really start that transition. So what we did was we really looked at what it takes to make the golf merit badge, and then applied that to what would it take to be a proficient disc golfer. We have the Edge Skill Shot Challenge that, tests all these different things. I wasn't necessarily sure, it's like, a roller and a thumber, overhand shots, are those like real good basic beginner stuff? But in the end, they're absolutely part of the game, and there is a safe way to teach those, and they're skill sets. There's no doubt about it. So, we came up with a really lengthy list, and then it was Des and I's task to really, like, how do we create the other half of the golf pamphlet that is kind of like the how-to? And that's where we really got involvement from the Edge side. We used a lot of components that are in our national physical education standards for disc golf with Edge. The PDGA jumped on board, allowed us to use a lot of their assets photography-wise, and of course, permissions for the rule book and things like that to be implemented. And then Disc Golf Strong, Seth Muncy fulfilled the part in there that we had about the health requirement. So all of these folks came together, and it's been 2 years, so it's been kind of quiet, hush, hush. Scouts did say in 2024 they wanted to kind of implement some of these things. They got, to me, a little bit ahead of themselves, but in the end, there are so many proficient troop leaders out there already that are involved in disc golf. There's no reason that they can't get involved right away. It's the new folks that are kind of like, man, this sounds like something my troop would love. How do I get involved? And that's what we're still catching up on a little bit. And you guys will have questions on that. There is actually going to be a how-to pamphlet, and we're working on the badge itself.
So that's a perfect segue. I mean, what a story about the addition of this opportunity. Let's say you do have a troop leader then who is interested in getting his troop involved. They've got a group of kids who want that merit badge. Do they have a means of accessing Edge, the PDGA? Is there like a find? What is the means by which they get involved? Because I think the point of this, and we can all agree, is it's not just about the merit badge, right? It's about the opportunity to teach more disc golf, right? And that's what you've been oriented around. Edge has been oriented around. So how do you then engage those people that are looking for an outlet to try disc golf and earn that merit badge?
Yeah, great question. So, there are currently over 1 million active scouts. So there's our immediate target, right? And the news is spreading really quickly within the scouting community. So they have their normal way that they go about for any merit badge. And currently within that system, there are the requirements for what it is going to take to earn your golf merit badge that includes disc golf. So that's where we're sitting at the moment. Right now, the actual how-to pamphlet is within its final editing. There's a printing phase. They do want to push out some of the older materials and stuff just to kind of, to save some waste, things like that. But there should be something online available, very soon. And I think the printable, purchasable, and downloadable pamphlet itself is, scheduled for early mid 2024 here. So that's the big jump in. So that answers your question a little bit, so the news is just breaking out there. I think it's super exciting. All the materials are in place. again, we're dealing with a behemoth institution here that, it's amazing. Hot news for us. It's one of 14, adjustments that they've been making on merit badges and things. So, that's why we were like so excited of like, you know what, to not just have a disc golf badge itself, but we know golf and disc golf parallel so much. It's really not a stretch. So if this gets more scouts playing disc golf, and here's how this kind of grows exponentially here. Currently, disc golf has been part of the National Jamboree. The PDJ has been involved for a number of years. Innova's been involved for a number of years. Edge has been involved. Dynamic Disc is currently involved. I think their team showed up last year for some activations there. But, one of 4 large scouting council camps. One of them is Summit Bechtel. Summit Bechtel in West Virginia. I mean, this is a 14,000 acre scout camp. So it's kind of got, talk about a place to go to do your merit badge. If it's some outdoors recreational sport or activity, they've got something. So they currently have a disc golf course, but the plan is now for 4. So, and they're all going to represent, instead of different tee pads, these 4 courses are going to be beginning course, advanced, championship. So, that ball, I think, is just going to keep on rolling and growing.
It's interesting because, they have a golf merit badge, but no scout camp is going to have a golf course. But putting a disc golf course in is natural. It makes sense. It's easy. Like, it's exactly the kind of landscape you'd want to play disc golf on. Now, the question I have is, when are they going to put a disc golf basket in the merit badge patch that you get? Because right now it's just a tee with a golf ball on it.
Yes. So I definitely approached that as well. And at first it kind of was like, we'll see someday. But already the momentum that's been shown from the disc golf community has got them like, you know what? We realize this. Yep. As soon as these golf ball patches are distributed in some form or fashion. And so I guess, to me, I guess that's a call out to the disc golf community, right? I mean, I think these patches cost maybe $5. I think you can go on the scouting website and into the store and just like a normal scout leader, I think we can purchase those up. Maybe we should buy out the rest of their stock of ball patches because they definitely recognize like, yeah, well, we're excited to redesign it. And I think you're spot on, Charlie. A disc golf target basket in the middle of a ball.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yes. Easy call. Easy call. How much, like, is this going to have a big impact, do you think? I mean, it's hard for me to kind of assess. I don't really know how big Boy Scouts is. I know it's still like many thousands of people are doing this growing up. I remember as a Cub Scout doing the merit badges things, and obviously disc golf is accessible in a lot of ways at these camps, and a lot easier, I think, to get started in than golf. So do you think that this could lead to more young people trying disc golf?
I really do. Something I wanted to recognize was some of the buy-in that we had from PDGA, legacy. We've got letters of support from 003 Dan Stork Roddick. He's a, scout, Eagle Scout, and has been, throughout his Frisbee and disc golf. Harold Duvall. He actually is on the cover of March 1978 of Boy's Life. Him and his brother with a whole bunch of Frisbees in the air. It's a beautiful cover. We need to put that back
awesome.
out. And Brian Graham, we talked about. So, there's a legacy of these folks within the industry already. And then when you take the fact that there are almost 500,000 adults in scouting involvement as well, I think what we see is that introductory level. It's one of the same concepts that Edge has as well. We introduce disc golf to them at whatever grade level, that they're into that we feel is appropriate. they move on, eventually those elementary kids, maybe they miss it in middle school, but then all of a sudden in high school, they're like, oh, there's an after school club. You know what? I did that as a kid. That was fun. And then they go for that. And one of the things we're really building towards now is after 20 years of edge work, there are enough high schools and enough areas close together that clubs are really starting to pick up momentum. Pretty soon those clubs are going to be looking to compete against each other. One of the challenges that we put towards the PDGA is Edge's mission is to help introduce disc golf at the lower foundation of the pyramid. And then the PDGA's, mission to me, when I read all of our bylaws and mission statement, is to organize competition. So PDGA league development for these clubs to find each other, I think, is a very feasible next step. And of course, that leads to membership and eventual PDGA tournaments, which, again, we're going to see these kids at world championships before too long at the rate that kids are picking up the game at that level. So I think there's a recreational groundswell, which, the entire sport, we need that right now. We're on our plateau. We want to keep on finding ways to introduce people to purchase discs, frequent courses, all the things that we've built this industry around now. So I think this is a $1.5 million surprise. Let's see what we can do.
What will Edge's involvement? So I guess I'll ask two things. What would Edge's involvement be in continuing with this process? Obviously this is just the very first step, or is, Edge Edge has done their part, and is Edge now orienting back towards another project on the horizon?
Yeah, always projects on the horizon. But the way that there currently is a proposal out in front of the PDGA currently from Edge that through some of our wonderful manufacturing partners, Innova, Prodigy, Discraft, others are kind of waiting to see what happens maybe with this proposal. We've got a proposal in front of the PDGA right now that would grant basic Edge packages to 20 different troops in this first year, and 20 different school clubs that are ready to take that big step forward. Because these are outside of the gymnasium, right? These are sometimes the art teachers, the proficient disc golfer, and they're the ones that are activating disc golf at the school through a club. And same thing with the scouts. They may or may not have the ability to have 40 troops. How do we get these discs? Where do we get them? Things like that. So we want to provide, like Edge does, and that's provide the age-appropriate equipment at the proper quantities, at the least amount of financial responsibility. So, write the PDGA, write the board, tell them to get more involved in youth and education. They're putting funding towards it right now, but, they could be really pushing this vehicle through all of our wonderful foundations in the sport. And I'm talking Edge, Uplay, Macbeth, Saki, all these great groups that are currently, doing that type of work.
Yeah. We're coming off of now, I think it's fair to say we're like past the COVID boom. We had all these new players come in some ways just kind of like in this random stroke of, everyone's forced outside, and the sport kabooms in size. And then, there was like a little bit of an attrition last year. Things were down, sales were down, and it's felt a little cooler. Kind of a question mark now with 2024. And, I've been talking to people in the industry, and I know you know this, Jay. You've been doing this a long time, but we have to build from the ground up to have a foundation for the future if we want to continue to have sport growth. And in my view, particularly, to try to grow the sport in a way that is not just catering to the existing demographic of disc golf. We haven't really made a lot of progress on that in some ways over the last 10, 15 years. So where would you assess the state of kind of youth and disc golf right now after this COVID boom, and kind of like how we begin this next phase of disc golf's history?
Yeah, I think we definitely have. We still have the rush going on from a lot of teachers, that had that kind of time and free space to discover disc sports and generally, and then disc golf, and because it was all educators and not just physical educators, that's where I think we're really seeing that next level, that club level is really starting to formulate itself. Edge is really concentrated. We knew like we got to start that foundation side. So, I'll give a stat from the 2023 impact reports coming out from Edge. And Edge introduced disc golf to 48,954 kids last year. So that's a pretty solid number. And we've been at kind of that clip for quite a few years now, even pre COVID. So as long as those aspects keep on pushing forward, the healthy pyramid bottom is just getting built. What a lot of disc golfers don't understand is, really just how extensive the educational system is. I mean, we're talking, tens of millions of kids everywhere in each spot, and in each, if we look at it at a hierarchy, there's school level, then there's district level, then there's county level, then there's state, then there's federal. So there's just so many different scenarios where one administrator is like, we absolutely want a course. How much does it cost? Where another administrator is like, ooh, yeah, we're going to have to like build up for 5 years, or that's the 10-year goal, or whatever it is. So they're all completely different, but I think that's okay too, because we're able to kind of deal with each one of those as they're ready. So yeah, still sky's the limit there. And, we're getting to the point where people are starting to knock on the door of like maybe their county or state level, like, hey, I've got 5 schools in, Iowa that are, really doing disc golf strongly. How do we get them together at a state meet? So those things are like disc golfers, when Edge started 20 years ago, they were like, oh, that's going to happen in like 2 or 3 years. And I'm kind of like, boy, wouldn't that be nice? I'm like, you got to just think long term. And, what can people do? I mean, seriously, Edge is 100% publicly funded. So any money that comes in goes right back out and keeps growing this. Edge needs more staff. I mean, we need the more people that's involved, the more we can keep pushing. I'll circle back to Steve Rose, who is still actively involved in the Scouts in Iowa. All 3 of his kids made Eagle Scouts, and this is how long he's been involved. 2010 was Ryan, Adam in 2014, and then Amber was in the first inaugural class of girls and women that got recognized as an Eagle Scout, and that was in 2020. So he just showed me some pictures of the local camp there in the county level. They've got homemade tire targets, and a couple of them are, starting to cave in a little bit. And it's just like, he's like, what do you think we can do here? And it's just like, well, that's obvious. We get Iowa tournaments that already are involved. The Des Moines Challenge is a big one. Titan Disc Golf. We've got a lot of support in Iowa that donate funds to Edge. So we already have a pocket of funding that's dedicated to Iowa growth of youth disc golf. We're going to help seed the funding to replace all those targets with real targets. And all of a sudden that camp is ready to go for summer for all this new initiative within the scouting.
I think this is Edge. You said to hit almost 50,000 students, right? That was it 48,000?
Yeah, just in 2023.
In 2023.
Yeah.
Are you targeting primarily elementary age kids in that group, or was that across K through 12?
Yeah, that's taking all of the schools and youth organizations that Edge worked with, and then as we one of the things we do that it actually some people get a little frustrated with it because it actually takes a little more time, instead of just a website where you can be like, I need 2 targets and 10 discs or whatever it is. We actually have people that you talk to that have experience within educating youth in disc golf, and so we qualify everybody. we want to, again, make sure they get the age appropriate equipment, because there's a big difference between a 110-gram disc and maybe a high schooler that's ready for a 140 or 50, and a different mold and stuff like that. So we get them the proper equipment. So that takes a little bit of time, but that's really who we're targeting. So elementary kids, it's a manipulating objects, a ball versus a frisbee or a gyroscopic airplane wing like a disc is part of the rudimentary rubric of physical education. So it's an easy sell there. Now, are they really getting into the big aspect of disc golf that we all are in? Sure. If they're parents, they go to their parents and say, hey, Christmas, I want 3 discs. That's happening all the time. Middle school, now we're starting to get into some clubs and things. At the high school level, of course, it branches out into everybody's already so involved in so many things, but that's where folks get specialized. So we target them all, to answer your question, Josh. I mean, we've got a little bit of a program for any level that jumps in there, and we go all the way to collegiates. We help campus courses go in the ground. Edge has helped install 275 campus courses at this point in our 20-year tenure. So if a school's educational, their methodology classes, we definitely want to get them like the Edge Basic package, everything you need to help teach future teachers how to teach disc golf. So that's, an exponential type of thing as well.
So one follow-up then, Charlie, if that's all right. Obviously, elementary school children, those guys, we're getting them introduced. We're getting them introduced, giving them the first taste of disc golf. For high school and above level, what is the conversion rate like into like active players or PDGA members? Do you have a means of tracking that? I know that'd probably be pretty difficult, but I'm curious to know, if you go to a high school class and you teach 200 kids from a couple different classes, how many of those are going to go and actually play a tournament, for example?
Yeah, I mean, would be a wonderful thing to really know and understand. Just at our level of a small nonprofit organization, yep, that's where someday, man, we'll have staff and volunteers that are able to really, get down into the nitty gritty there. But so currently, I just really don't know. Besides, we can really, we see them out there, right? We see them at courses. I think everybody can say we're seeing more and more youth populate the courses on a recreational level. Those are signs, those are all good signs.
Great. That's awesome stuff, Jay. Thank you so much. I just wanted to check in real quick. What's your plan for 2024? I know you're still playing a bit out there.
Yeah.
So I know you're balancing that and Edge and everything else that's going on. So what should we expect to see from you this year?
Oh, I'm still a player first and foremost, for sure. 2023, let's see, 30 starts, 16 wins. Not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
Yep, still playing. I'm still balancing it between open 40 and 50. I played a couple tournaments already this year, so yeah, I'm playing. Let's see, I got a nice 1,030 already on the docket, a couple thousand. So yeah, I think the big thing for us this year is this is going to be our Des and I's 25th year consecutively touring. Outside of 2020, I still played 20 tournaments, but they were all around the state of Texas, which is kind of a moving around other states as well. But I don't know. I need Stamp Mano to help me out there. I think I may be the longest touring disc golfer still out there that's played in more than 5 states a year. I don't know.
I guarantee you they can do the math on that.
Yeah, there's a challenge. But yeah, man, disc golf still player always. I think it really to stay active in the lifetime aspect of the sport. I definitely am pushing some agenda now. I remember, Peter Shive, one of our legendary players out of Wyoming. I was an old young pro, at 30 when I kind of was really getting into the elite side of the sport. But he was always pushing, like his quote was always, you'll be old one day too. and it's just like, well, yeah, those are facts. But as you progress down that road, you do realize, like, wow, there's a humongous difference between a 45-year-old and a 52-year-old. And so these breaks that we have in competition, I'm liking what's going on with a Masters tour starting to be recognized, because, folks like you guys, it gets frustrating once in a while. It's like, oh man, it would have been cool if you guys covered a little bit of the Masters Worlds or the U.S. Masters. But hey, you know what? That's a sign of what all of us, pioneers were dreaming about when we were like, someday this will be a recognized professional sport, and ain't nobody talking about, the oldies when we've got the incredible athleticism that's being shown currently at the pro tour level.
Yep. I mean, there will come a day when our current generation of pros starts to age into masters, and a generation of people who's growing older with them, that I think there will be interest in the 40s, at least the 40s age group. I don't know if we're going to see much interest beyond that, but like a Masters tour with Macbeth and Wysocki battling and still playing, 10-30, 10-40 disc golf, like people will want to watch that, I think. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that's what they said about our generation too. Although we were on VHS and Laserdisc, right? So I didn't quite transfer over. Although I love the momentum we saw with the Legends skins match there, with the old, Macbeth Wysocki. How about another shot of Climo and Schultz?
That was awesome, honestly.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Most definitely.
Yeti, thank you so much. Congrats on the helping this happen with the Boy Scouts thing. Looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. One more huge shout out to scouting.org's David Elrich for having the vision of, really putting this through. And then, can't say enough about Steve Rose. So amazed of his tenacity of really, pushing this forward along the path. And I'm just honored to be a part of it. I just see so much potential in there, and I appreciate the airtime. Any love that, a nonprofit can get is always a wonderful thing. So thank you. Go buy some golf patches on the scouting website. Let's clear that inventory. Catch their attention that this is really something amazing going on. And appreciate you guys. Support Edge. If you run a tournament, check out our website, the tournament charity program. We've given out, we had $80,000 come in through that program, and that it gets earmarked for each individual state. So when Josh runs a tournament in Idaho, we'll fundraise exactly for his area. So thanks so much, guys.
All right. Check out Yeti and everything going on with Edge at edgediscgolf.org. Appreciate it. And we will be right back on the Upshot. Welcome back to the Upshot. Thanks again to Yeti for coming on. And Josh, I thought fascinating to hear about the history here. And like, disc golf's been trying to make these inroads for a long time, and to find out, that in 2008 they tried to make this big push and get all this effort behind it, and then they were told, no, you're too small and nobody cares. That's not what he said, but like that's the subtext of, we can't have just any old individual sport coming in here. And
right.
Now, they find a way because the sport has grown so much and there's a level of professionalism now. And I think obviously having a person involved at the high levels who is also a disc golfer is very helpful, as we've seen over the course of the last few years. But very interesting stuff. And I think in the grand scheme of things, this is not going to like change the game, but it's one of many small improvements to making it better accessible to young people that I think will have long-term impact.
I completely agree. And the part that you mentioned that I didn't even think of, if the PDGA were to be proactive about course building on Boy Scout property to become invested and help fund both a beginner course and a championship level course, like you have a an organization that's committed to volunteering and service that would go there every summer, that could help maintain a course, that could be championship level courses that could be used for professional disc golf.
It's really, yeah. I find the whole PDGA situation, I mean, I feel like I've been complaining about this for years. But they underfund the like youth and education side of the sport. Now, I get it. They need to spend money on tournament stuff and running the top level of the game. But, like, do we really need the PDGA writing articles about what happened at the Pro Tour events and sending people to those tournaments? I'm genuinely asking. Like, I just don't think that matters. They're still funding the magazine. I'm like, is this good money spent in a useful way that makes like people feel like they're getting the Ultimate got rid of its magazine like 10 years ago. I mean, it's I just
throw mine away.
We don't need that, right? So, and I'm not saying that it's a zero-sum game or anything, but like sometimes I just think the PDGA energy is not focused enough on like future building, and it's like they do an amazing job of supporting tournament directors, and they've made a lot of positive changes there, and they've obviously made a lot of positive changes at the professional side of the game, which is what we talk about here on the show a lot. But like, let's pour 6 figures more of money every single year into youth programming. And like and that doesn't mean the PDGA has to run it. Like, fund these other orgs that are doing this work, and I think we'll see the fruits of that in the long run, because right now it's just such a mess even at the college level. It's been a little bit of a mess. Like, it's not an organized thing. Like, are there state championship high school tournaments? Like, I've never heard of any of them.
No.
And why is that not happening? Like, it doesn't have to be a varsity sport for that to happen. Like, Ultimate is way beyond you. Use the Ultimate like build out to help funnel that way, right? Like, collaborate there. Anyway, I don't want to get on the soapbox here, but I just feel like there's a lot of like, are we just going to focus on attracting the 18 to 34 male demographic forever? Like, I know there are some efforts to do not that, but like, we haven't made any real changes there. And so I just think there's like a lot of work to be done to make the sport more accessible and interesting to not the core demo of disc golf.
Yep. This is a good step, and big thanks to Jay and the
PDGA, by the way.
And the PDGA, yes.
This. It's not like they don't want to do these things, but it's a matter of prioritization.
Correct.
So an opportunity now post-pandemic to think about the future building. Okay. That is going to do it for today's show. We'll be back with you on Thursday. We're also going to go inside the circle for our subscribers on Thursday. So make sure you get yourself a subscription, discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. Access to all of our bonus segments and episodes, all live shows. Josh, we're so close to live shows. Today is January 30th.
It is.
And that means that we are 2.5 weeks away from disc golf. It's All-Star, but it's something.
It's something.
We're going to overreact to who threw the longest drive. And then, 3.5 weeks until the start of the season at the chess.com Invitational. Exciting stuff. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long. We'll talk to you Thursday right here on The Upshot.